Hey everyone, it's Cory and Kim here today on the Coach Replay Show. It's not gonna lie, taken us quite a bit this morning to get here. My Wi-Fi's been awful, and so you're getting to see me from my couch. I'm sitting on my couch doing the show today. Just chilling. Probably gonna have to sit on the couch all day. Yes, we're talking about the year. It is the final episode-ish of the Coach Replay Show. And Kim and I are doing a little wrap up for you. Season 3, I keep calling it season 4, right, Kim? Because I don't know where I am in my life right now.
So excited.
We are very excited for season 4. But before we talk about season 4, we're going to give you some highlights from each of us, and highlight our favorite episode, talk about some of our biggest takeaways, because we have a lot of practitioners and a lot of experts in the field coming in to the show to talk to you all as educators and leaders, and hopefully be able to impart some inspiration and some wisdom for you in this show, give you some practical tips. But Kim and I are also practitioners, and so we're going to share a little bit about that. So we're winging it today because Kim and I really didn't plan too much, and whatever little plan we had was thwarted by my bad Wi-Fi.
And Cory's on her couch, so
I'm on my couch.
Here we go.
So let's start with highlights. Okay. What were your highlights this year, Kim?
Well, I will say I'm coming up on my almost year anniversary with Sibme here next week, June 1st. Last year is when I started. I think there are a lot of highlights that I've had just by being part of this team and part of this group. And we have the best boss in the entire world and the best leadership who talks about growth a lot, but also talks about like making sure that you're doing the things that you love. So I was able to start doing some work in coaching here locally. We moved to Chicago last year, which was a huge challenge. But I moved from North Carolina, where I had 15 years of coaching experience, and to a completely different Midwest experience in Chicago, and had to kind of start over, like how do you go from having this network of people to coming to a place where you know maybe a couple people and no one in education. And so I really had to start over with my coaching as well. And I was able to become a vendor, and that process alone was really challenging. But a highlight was starting in February, I started working in the schools here in Chicago and really seeing neighborhood schools, lovely places to be, really hardworking teachers. I'm talking about some hardworking teachers. And I really got to be able to start coaching the way that I wanted to, because no one was saying this is how you coach, or this is your model, or this is your this or that. And that was super, super exciting. So it started really in, February, March-ish. And, we're still going strong here at the end of the year. But that was a really fantastic experience, going through not knowing anyone and then starting to coach again, which is what I'm really passionate about. That's one. And then my second is I work with a university here supporting student teachers. And this last semester, it was so lovely going through this process with them. I had 8 student teachers I worked with here. And I really went through coaching cycles with them, and it was all virtual. And we went through 4 coaching cycles. And at the end, they all were like, I have never been so reflective on my practice. I've never learned so much. They've all had a very interesting career because most of their learning experience was through COVID. And so, everybody's kind of like, 4th year teacher I was with was like, I don't know, I feel like a 1st year teacher. I'm like, you are. So
yeah, right.
Everybody is. So it was, such a great experience to get into the classrooms, also coach virtually student teachers who had never had that experience before. Those are two really great things that happened this year. So,
yeah. Well, and I think I always feel, and when I was a district level coach and a regional, specialist doing a lot of, PD sessions and a little bit less coaching in those regional years, at least in the early regional years. That was my way to like stay connected. I needed to get in a classroom and be with a teacher and shoulder to shoulder with a teacher and shoulder to shoulder with students. And that was kind of whenever the more kind of paper pushing and, other duties as assigned as you come out of the classroom kind of filled up on my list. Sometimes I would just need to take a break and get into a classroom or watch a teacher's video from a classroom. And so I think that's exciting. And we get to, do that here in a couple of different ways. I mean, we've got our virtual coaching services. You got to coach coaches this year in a couple of different ways here at Sibme. And then you also got to do some local things, which I think is exciting. And I totally remember that, 4 years ago, last month, we moved from Texas, where I was born and raised and started our family, and we moved to Ohio, where my husband's from. And so we have family here, but yeah, like you said, knowing no one in education, and suddenly I didn't know the teachers that my students were, my children were going to be students in their rooms, because I knew them all because I worked in the district that my kids went to back in Texas. And
it's very interesting to not have the inside scoop.
It really is.
You're like, wait a minute.
It really is.
I'm locked out now. And that's challenging. But then you also have a sense for what it's like for parents who aren't in education and don't have those experiences. And you're like, communication is really important. But yeah, it was tough. But I think I've loved the experiences that I've had.
Yeah. I remember telling a former colleague, like, everybody up here, they're all like nurses or, business women, like all the moms I meet, like none of them, I met like maybe one teacher my first year at like my kid's ball game. And I was like, it's just weird. Like, there's just like no educators. And she was like, no, pretty sure there's lots of educators. You're just like you had your world, right? Like that, those were your people, and you didn't really, and I was like, oh, that's probably true as well. So I also got to work locally and do some coaching this year. And, I got to, these were individuals that I worked with in the previous year during, remote teaching, and, they wanted to continue working and continue refining and bringing in the things that they learned from remote instruction into their back to face-to-face classroom, although that was different looking this year, of course. But it's so exciting. That's like one of my favorite things. In fact, just a couple of weeks ago, I was working with my teachers. We were kind of wrapping up and doing something really fun in her classroom, and I missed a meeting with Kim, and she was like, are you coming? And I was like, nope, sorry, doing way cooler things right now.
So much more
having
fun.
That meeting. Yeah. But it's been a lot of fun. Another highlight is, a lot of people maybe don't know this, but I had a baby this year.
Isn't it so funny that people don't know?
I know. Yeah. It's so funny because you only see me like from here up. So, yeah, I was all belly for a large part of the school year. And, we had, welcomed our fourth into our family. We're now like officially crazy, I think, is what Jenny Sulfridge, our colleague, says, is once you have four, people start to really think you're a little crazy. But I
want everybody to notice too the pounds and ounces.
Oh my gosh, yeah, he was a big baby. He was no small feat. That is for sure. No, he was big and long, and he's going to be just like his brother and his dad, who are also tall guys. And he's a joy to have. And that was in March, so we had him March 9th, and he's almost 3 months now. And at all the baseball and softball games, you can see Gracie there. She is just loving big sister life. She was born to be a big sister for sure. So yeah, he's happy and smiley. And this was taken on a Monday. And I was like, he doesn't understand the concept of Mondays yet, thankfully. But yeah.
We did, but not him.
Yeah. That was a rough Monday for many of us.
We were in a state. But he had a great Monday.
He had a great Monday. We're almost at that moment where the giggles are going to come. Like, he's real close. We're getting the squeals and the big smiles. And I'm just waiting for the giggles to start. It's gonna be a fun summer for sure. Having him around. Also tiring, but he's sleeping through the night, so I'm very blessed for that. So that's my biggest highlight is just getting to be a part of, like you said, the local education, and just being able to support that, have an impact locally, as well as across the country. Kim and I have been blessed to be able to work with educators, coaches, administrators all across the country. And that's been very fulfilling, I think, this year for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I think one other highlight was a webinar that we did recently with Davies County, and it was fun because it was like a derby themed. Oh, it's great. And that was great. But it also, hearing what the coaches and the coachees, the people they were coaching, had to say about the impact of coaching. It's just always great to hear. And we do hear from people all over the place who say, coaching is really important to us. And we're like, us too, So it's really great to have those conversations with people.
Well, and I think we'll talk about this, the biggest takeaway. So we'll come back to that for sure. So real quick, while we're talking about highlights, what was your favorite episode? I think I know which one yours was. But favorite episode from season 3, go.
Yeah. So, I mean, I climbed aboard, like willingly or unwillingly, I'm not sure, to take.
I totally yanked you along. And then I was like, I'm having a baby. I'm going to need you to take over Coach Replay. There you go.
So the Coach Replay we had a conversation about Coach Replay early on when I was hired, and I was like, I don't know, like maybe
I don't need to be a part of that.
But like, it's your thing. We're fine. And then Cory went on maternity leave, and there were some episodes we had to fill. So here I am. But I'm happy to do it. I think it's great to talk to like-minded people, about coaching. It's the passion that I have, and I really leave energized. Even if I don't come in energized, I leave energized, and that's a great feeling. So you're doing something you love when that happens. But obviously, my dad, I was able to interview my dad as my favorite episode. As a coach, he is a basketball coach and has retired, and it was just a really special experience that recording is going to live forever, long after both of us. And we had that experience to really talk about coaching. I mean, I was laughing at myself afterwards because I did learn some things from that. Because whenever you watch back tape of yourself, you're always a little horrified about things. But
of course,
I could not believe, like, the entire time I'm talking to my father about coaching, and I did not smile one time the first 15 minutes of it. And I was like, I cannot believe that this is happening. I look like I absolutely hate him. Watch the show. I promise you, I don't hate him. And we did have some good conversations.
Trying not to be emotional, right? I know.
I think it's so hard when you're like, I was trying to concentrate on what he was saying. And when you do that, I wasn't thinking about what I looked like in my face. And so, but this has happened to me before too, when I was teaching, when I videoed myself. So anyway, favorite episode, because I think our connections as instructional coaches to coaches who are on a field, on a court, on a whatever, are very aligned. And it was important to draw those connections because they use film, we use film. They have coaching moves, we have coaching moves. And honestly, he's the reason I think that I wanted to become a coach in the first place. My kids, my very first class, they used to call me coach because I would explain to them, my job is to like encourage you and get you there, but you got to do the work too. And like, we would have a lot of these back and forth conversations as a teacher. And so they would be like, well, can we call you coach? And I'm like, yeah. They thought it was funny, but I was serious. I was I'm really into this coaching thing. So but that's where I got the passion for it. And so it was important for me, like, full circle, to be able to have that conversation with him. So that was my favorite. What about you?
It was good. It was good. And I really enjoyed, so that was that episode released the week that I had Bladen. So I got to watch that from the hospital bed, and while I was snuggling with a newborn, and it was really special to watch, but also a full circle moment for the show, right? The Coach Replay show is when we first envisioned this show, we want to almost think of it kind of like your sports center type shows, where we're going to be breaking down game footage, right? Classroom footage with a coach, with a teacher even, and talking about, what happened, what was going through your mind, what were some, great things that happened here, what might you do differently, what's your next step, how do you prepare for the next game from there. And then episodes where we talked, strategy, we talked shop about coaching. The last 2 seasons has been a lot of shop talk, which is wonderful. But I'm really looking forward to next season as we start to get back into some more footage episodes where we're kind of, viewing artifacts, not just video, but artifacts of instruction and of teaching and of coaching. Kim and I have some that we've already kind of prepared, some different scenarios. We just got away from it once COVID hit our schools so hard and everyone went to emergency online instruction. All of our video artifacts were of classroom in-person instruction. We were like, well, that doesn't really fit for what we are now. So we pivoted with the rest of the world and talked about online instruction and different things. And so as everybody kind of eases back into a more synchronous in-person world, we've got some artifacts for that, and also some, because there still are a lot of folks who are still doing more remote things than before, more online things than before. So so yeah, but it was definitely full circle for Sibme as well. And I can totally relate to my my middle schoolers told me it's called RBF. I'll let everyone else look at what it is, but where your face looks like you're just kind of like bored with it, done with it, like you just have no affect.
Unintentional, but
totally unintentional. And that is actually something that I've worked on over the past several years as I've stopped I didn't stop. I moved from just recording teachers in the classroom as a way for us to both observe instruction and into recording my coaching conversations as a great note-taking device, because we could just share that video into our huddle space and they could go back and view it. Maybe I did a show and tell, or we modeled something, or something happened during that meeting that was helpful that they could go back to and I could go back to. But also I use it for my own reflection, just as I ask the teachers that I'm working with and the coaches that I work with to reflect on their practice and their moves. I do the same thing. And I do have to remind myself sometime to not be listening so hard that like I'm all in my head and I've got nothing on my face, or my face is saying something different than what my ears are hearing. So definitely have to work with that. I think one of my favorite episodes, I think this is on your top 10 list as well, Kim, is the episode we did with Pete Hall. I've been a huge fan of Pete and Lisa's work. They've written a lot about teacher reflection. I mean, reflection's a big part of my passion, teacher ownership or educator ownership, allowing learners of all ages to own their own learning and drive their own learning and have a say in how and what and when and where they learn. That's a big passion of mine. And I think coaching fits right into that kind of aspiration really well as a model. But we've used Pete and Lisa's work a lot here recently in our cohorts that we run. And, I'm always kind of citing something, a quote, a piece of research, a strategy, an idea from one of their texts. And so to have him on this season was huge. It was really, really cool to get to ask him the questions that we get from other folks all the time. And we're like, well, not really quite sure. Turn back to the book. We just got to ask him. And his message is just so consistent with what we see within his writing, and their ideas work really, really well. So that was a big favorite for me. So, and he did a follow-up Q&A and
Yeah, he was lovely. And the power of Twitter, right? So like, we obviously were huge fans. And I just reached out and said, hey, you want to come on our show? And
I was like, I never thought about doing that. I follow him on Twitter.
Yeah. And he's such a lovely person. And he was like, yeah, of course. But yes, his message was something that I definitely have learned as a coach. And one of the things that resonated from that episode with me is just really being teacher-centered. I think I've talked about this a million times, but I used to think that as a coach, I had all the answers. and it was my job to give those answers. And it was just a really terrible mindset. And so, he really wants teachers to be at the center of their own learning. And I definitely am 100% on board with that. But it's been a transition for me to kind of unlearn some coaching things that I learned early on. So
yeah.
I just really enjoyed that episode too. And we had some good questions with the follow-up as well. So there are 2 episodes to view if you really want to look back on those.
Yeah. We'll drop the links to those episodes in the chat, and let us know what your favorite episode was. Let us know what your highlights were. And I think, Kim, this is a good segue from what you just said right into our next piece for this episode, which is, what's your biggest takeaway? And again, we would love for the audience to share. Also, we'll give you another thing that you can share below here in a moment. But I think for me, the biggest takeaway was just, there were a couple of things. What did I learn? Gosh, I thought we should talk about this. I was the one who said we should talk about it, and then I'm not even as prepared as I should be. I think that I think the big thing is remembering to move small. So, and I was actually just talking with Jennifer Abrams, who's going to be coming on our show soon. She'll be at Better Together, which we'll talk about this, as everything just kind of almost halted to a stop. Even yesterday, I was in our little village and wanted to stop by a local restaurant that has a lot of local foods, farm to table, and they were closed. They're closed on Sundays and Mondays because their traffic is just so low, and their hours are very different than they were, back, pre-2020. And it's just a reminder that things have, some things have continued to stay slow, but I'm also seeing lots of things ramping up. And especially after coming off of maternity leave for several weeks, I'm not completely ready for the fast pace, all the travel. I kind of want it. Like, I miss some of it, but then I'm like, I kind of enjoy sitting on my couch just a little bit more than I used to. And I've seen that with the teachers that I've worked with as well. Like, some have actually found and embraced a little bit better balance in their life. And that, for a particular individual that I worked with, like, that was her, yes, and I need to maintain my balance. And so it really made us think differently about how we worked together and the size of the steps that we took. We still took steps, we still made progress, but where I might have pushed a little bit more to, do that one evening, or, sometime this week, find some time. It was, we're going to do this together when we're working together, and because the time's not going to come anywhere else. So just remembering that, and remembering to just continue to, those small steps are actually oftentimes more valuable than the giant leaps that we make. A leap is required from time to time, but even just that small change, that 10%, that compound effect can be huge. So just remembering that, I think, has been one of my biggest takeaways.
Yeah, I think along those same lines, like, just being really aware of mental health and our what we need. There are a lot of teachers who have left the profession recently because it is so challenging and there has been so much going on. And I think the pandemic highlighted a lot of the ways of things that we need to change and adjust and do better in education. So that's one of the things that I think that people are focusing on more, is like being able to say no. Like, I can't do it all. And for me, I was in a position before I came here where I just truly wasn't aligned, wasn't entirely happy. And I had to say no to that for my mental health and find something else that was much better for me. So I think that's one of the things that I learned, is like really being able to say no, taking care of your mental health just as important as your physical health. But also, I think, going back to what I was saying about the Pete Hall episode, really being teacher-centered. And I think that's also connected to what you said. Like, I don't come into a coaching conversation thinking, here are the 10 things. I might have things in mind that I know I want that teacher to work on, but that's not first. What's first is what's on their mind and what they want to work on. And then I might come in later with and also, like, have you thought about this? Because maybe it's just something they haven't seen. But my first step with teachers when I first meet them, especially because I'm a complete stranger, like I said, no one in Chicago knows who I am. And when I was in the CMS, it was a little different. I knew a lot of people in Charlotte. And so, my first conversation is always what's going really well and what are some things that you want to work on. And whatever they say they want to work on is where we start. That's our starting point, no matter what it is. And oftentimes, by the way, people will say, they won't even say the good things. I'll have to bring the good things out of them. That's tough. But I think really focusing on what teachers need, what teachers want, and what they're passionate about, I think is the very first step. And I'm more focused on that now than I ever have before, especially because I get to be my own, I get to do what I want to do with coaching. So it's just a really great place to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I think everyone deserves to have that feeling in whatever career path that they've chosen, but especially in education. I think once we start to lose that passion, that spark, that curiosity, we start to see that loss in our classroom and the learners that we're facilitating learning for. And so I think it's important for sure. So let's talk about season 4 just a little bit. Actually, before we talk about season 4, let's talk about Better Together, because I think this is going to be a huge way for a lot of folks to maybe find something, rediscover a passion, rediscover an interest, find maybe a new one, a new path, a new thing that you are going to kind of move you out of your comfort zone, as Kim Darsh and I had talked about in her episode a few weeks ago. So Better Together, y'all have heard me talk about this before if you've been a viewer of the Coach Replay show in the past years. Better Together is something that Sibme, who hosts this show, also hosts every summer for the past 3 summers now. And it's awesome. This year, it's just one day, but we've got several breakout sessions. I think there's maybe 40 different options for breakouts, plus 4 keynotes, all in that one day. It's fully virtual, so it doesn't matter where you are, you can attend, and it's live, but there'll be some things in there. We actually open up the conference space the week before the 16th because several of our presenters have created some great opportunities for some learning to happen outside of those live hours on the 16th and after the 16th. All sessions are available on demand for a full year afterwards until we get ready for the next Better Together. And so that's been a huge kind of return on investment, which, by the way, it's a free conference. So you put nothing in to register and you get all of these amazing folks who are going to be presenting. I'm excited to introduce to educators who may not know our kickoff keynote, Andrew Town. He's so fun, so amazing, and has done some amazing things in his life. And he's going to kind of really kick us off with some motivation and some conversation related to education and some things that we can kind of take in. Jennifer Abrams, we know her so well for having hard conversations and just the passionate way that she talks about how we treat each other in education and how we have those conversations. She's going to be talking about kind of stretching your learning limits or learning edges. She'll be on our show soon to talk a little bit more about that. Dr. Robin Jackson is also amazing. She really has done so much in terms of, turning places into high performing organizations and teacher ownership. And then Jim Knight, we all know Jim Knight in our education world. He's going to be, especially in our coaching world, going to be there. It's super exciting. And we'll have more and more information coming out about it. So be sure to follow, and subscribe to our social media channels so you can see more. But info.sibme.com/better together gets you to our free registration. Let everybody know who you talk to, because that is going to be huge, a free offer opportunity to learn. And we give credit and certificates for attendance as well. So definitely register for that.
Looking forward to it.
Gonna be awesome.
A packed day of fun.
It is. And Kim and I
get to
I know, in one day. Yeah. When I was talking to Jennifer yesterday about it, she was like, wait, all in one day we are? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, and breakout sessions. I said, yes, it's going to be
a fun-filled day.
Zoom fatigue. Get ready for it. No, you don't have to attend the entire day, every session, but they'll all be waiting for you when you're ready to kind of piecemeal it out later on. So that's going to be good. So let's talk about season 4, because I keep trying to say this is season 4. This is just season 3 that we're wrapping up. But season 4, Coach Replay Show. Again, we're going back to kind of the heart of what we envisioned for this show, where we're going to be bringing in artifacts of teaching and learning and coaching and having conversations, real conversations with other folks about those. So I want to invite you, if you've got a scenario, let's say, for example, one of the scenarios that we'll be talking about is you've got this great plan, you've set a goal, you've said, okay, by this date, you're going to have this ready. And when we meet on Tuesday, we're going to do this together. And then you get a text the night before on Monday evening saying, oh, I forgot to do that thing. And I'm just really not sure I'm quite ready for that. You can still come, but like, let's not do anything we planned. How do you move forward with that? How do you still make progress and momentum and what's the right move in those situations? So if you have a scenario, a question for us or the folks that we would bring on, an artifact that you want us to feature for next season, you can share it below. You can email us at learn@sibme.com. And we're really building out a pretty exciting schedule for next season. It'll kickstart early in August, as we know that our instructional leaders are back in the building or still in the building if you are a full year person, and getting ready for teachers to come in. Kim, what are you excited about for season 4?
Well, something that you and I had thrown around was continuing to do these shorter versions of the Coach Replay Show, but they're really meant to be about like these micro episodes are meant to be about 15 minutes and
or less,
or less. And we've had a really hard time. Cory's had a really hard time keeping the 15 minutes. And so we were talking about doing a timer and a countdown. I don't know. I think that'll be kind of fun. We're gonna shake it up a little bit.
We are.
We've talked about some ways to really at least make us excited and laugh. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I am too. Yeah, and definitely Kim has the gift of brevity in her conversations that I do not have. It's why we're a great team. But I've noticed she's come onto my side a little bit more. I mean, I think there was a meeting the other day that we had internally that I was like, it's still going. Kim's still talking. That's not usual. She's also the first one out of a Zoom session.
I have my moment.
So
first one in, first one out.
First one in, first one out. That's how she rolls. We're really excited. So stay tuned. All summer we are playing replays. So we'll be replaying some of our favorite episodes, some of your favorite episodes. In case you want to go back, know that you can go to the Learning Center. We'll drop the link in the comments to access all of the takeaways, which are just even more robust ways to learn, because we do hope you learn something from these episodes, plus also maybe have a little bit of fun with us. So you got feedback for us, email it to us, send us some scenarios, artifacts, ideas for next season that you'd like to see. And thanks for watching, everyone. Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Bye, y'all.